Good morning, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning.
We'll get going in just a minute as a few more people.
Hello.
Hello. How's the weather there in Southern Oregon today? Sunny? Thumbs up. That's good.
People are
No
talking
sound,
and I
right?
can't hear. Hey, Catherine.
Good morning.
There's a bun in her hair. Okay.
How are we doing for numbers, Emily?
We are at 38, so I think we're good to start and we'll let the rest trickle in.
Okay.
People just smiling or someone talking to them. See,
Oh.
she's laughing like someone's talking.
Can everybody hear us okay? Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your Friday morning. We will get started, and we are recording today, so whoever sort of joins us a bit later, and we will share the recording if they want to listen back. So let me just get into our first slide here. So yes, for those of you who we haven't had the pleasure to engage with just yet during this process, we are Destination Think. We are a global marketing firm that's been working with DMOs all around the world for about 11 years now. And we have client partnerships and team members all across the world in Australia, New Zealand, Europe, and of course, North America. So this slide here, we bring places closer to people. That is ultimately the goal, and everything we do with our clients is just that. How we do this is simply to ensure that we're doing everything we do with a highly collaborative process. And Frank will get into that in just a minute on how that relates to our work with Travel Oregon. So we take this approach with every project, from strategic planning to marketing and promotion. And of course, while doing that, staying ahead of all of the rapid changes in the economy, social, and environmental landscape. We know that this world shifts quickly, so it's important for us to stay ahead of those changes. Our partnership began with Travel Oregon back in February, and it has been a really great journey and a perfect fit. As like Travel Oregon, our team truly believes that travel must lead to a better future and be able to adapt to ongoing crises, such as the elephant in the room, which is COVID-19, climate changes, wildfires, socioeconomic changes, etc. So just as you guys are all here today, we truly believe that nothing really works without engaging the people of a place, from tourism leaders to residents. So we thank you for participating, because without your help and your valuable insights, driving positive and transformational change can be a challenge for any destination. A bit of background on where our journey began. We have been working with Travel Oregon since beginning this year, as I said, and the ultimate purpose with the project we have engaged with them on is to design a strategic vision and a transformational strategy. And this is ultimately going to help direct not only Travel Oregon, but the Oregon tourism industry on a very clear path for future-proof tourism. So through this highly collaborative process, we have been engaging with the entire staff of Travel Oregon, industry stakeholders, and residents. And this is really to ensure we are gaining all perspectives across the entire state and help identify that direction and those priorities that we ultimately need for this strategy. So like I said, Frank will take you on a more of an in-depth journey of where we've been in this process and everything we've been doing up until this point. So in short, why you're here today is to help us essentially drive that transformational strategy ahead. It's really imperative to this process, and we are truly here with you to co-create the transformational strategy and help validate the vision, our priorities, the actions that we want to drive ahead for Travel Oregon, so they can lead yourselves and the rest of the industry in a very challenging and constantly changing environment for many years to come. So again, thank you so much for your time today. We will try to get you out on time as well. And we know you're all very busy, so really look forward to all the great discussion ahead. So before we jump into our agenda, I did want to introduce our team who is with us today. We have many other people behind the scenes, researchers, other strategists, and other people from our team helping with this project. But today you have ourselves to engage in this exciting discussion. And I'm going to turn it over to Frank to start us off.
Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Guipers. That's the way how you pronounce it. If it were English, it would have been something like Cooper or Fassbinder. That's the German name. So it's the same profession. Originally from Europe, I'm in the lead for this project, a strategy for Oregon. I work already 7 years for Destination Think. I've worked with many places in the USA, Indiana, Montana, California, Colorado, and so on. But we have a global perspective. So I worked in many other places, and I do teach a little bit in United States and in Europe as well. Over to my colleague, Rebecca.
Thank you, Frank. My name is Rebecca Godfrey. I am another senior strategist with Destination Think. I haven't been here quite as long as Frank, but very happy to be with the team. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. So that is the city of Toronto in Ontario. And I'm very eager to learn more about Southern Oregon and have some good discussion today. So happy to be here. I'm going to pass it now to Emily.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Neville. I am a project manager here at Destination Think. I'm US based in Denver, Colorado, and I'd like to acknowledge that I am based on the traditional territories of the Ute, Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Sioux nations. Like Rebecca said, we're really happy to have you guys here. You're our last group. We saved the best for last. So thanks so much for taking time out today. I'll send it over to Shannon.
Thanks, Emily. And yes, I am Shannon, excuse me, Shannon Landreth. I am based just outside of Toronto, Stratford, Ontario, Canada. I am a client strategist at Destination Think and have been working with Frank and the Travel Oregon team since the beginning of our partnership, and have been really excited to be a part of this important journey. I'd like to acknowledge the land I'm speaking to you from, which is on the traditional territories of Anishinaabe, Waukee, Adirondack, and the Mississaugas. So that is our team today, and we really look forward to meeting each of you as soon as we break out into those sessions. So before we get in, I will do a little bit of a housekeeping. Obviously we would love to be there with you all in person. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, we haven't been able to do just that, but hopefully one day we'll get to meet you in 3D. And then after housekeeping, I'll turn it back to Frank. And like I said, he'll take you on a little bit of a journey of where we've been in this process, what the process is that we've designed for the transformational strategy, and some of the learnings we have heard along the way. From there, we'll jump right into our breakout sessions and get to know each of you, your priorities and aspirations about Southern Oregon. We'll come back and do a bit of a share back, and then we'll stay in the main room and talk a little bit about that homework that we sent over about Travel Oregon's vision. If you didn't have a chance to look at the video or prepare anything, that's totally okay. We know that you're really busy, so we'll spend a little bit of talking about Travel Oregon's vision. We'll have a quick break, and then the back half of our co-creation lab today will be talking a little bit about attracting visitors and what that visitor should be. And lastly, and most importantly, how do we bring all of this to life? How do we make that vision true? And how do we get there together? So that's going to be a really important way to finish our day, to understand what are those tangible actions and things that we need to consider for this transformational strategy. And then before we wrap up, I will take you through sort of what's next after this. We have been doing these workshops for 2 weeks now. So I want to make sure everyone is clear on where we go from here and how do we get to the final transformational strategy. So that is how we'll be spending our time together. Like I said, we'll move through this as quick as we can and get you out on time. If you do need to drop off, we totally understand. And like I said, this will be recorded, so you can always send us any additional thoughts or questions after our time together. So housekeeping, love to see your faces. If you are comfortable, please turn your camera on. It is sometimes challenging to engage in a good and solid way through Zoom and virtual, but if you are comfortable, please turn your camera on. There is a chat feature within your menu on Zoom. So if you have any questions or comments or dialogue between each other, we really welcome you to use that. We'll be transcribing all of the notes from today's session as well. So we'll be capturing everything that is discussed. In terms of speaking, if you are not speaking, we just ask you put yourself on mute so we can mitigate any background noise. And if you'd like to speak, there is a raise your hand feature so we can ensure that we're giving everyone opportunity to share their thoughts. If you haven't done so already, there is 3 little dots over your little face or a block that can allow you to update your Zoom name so we can put a name to the face. We'll have a quick break. And like I said, we'll have various breakout rooms for exercises. And if you do finish your exercise a bit early, just come on back to the main room and we'll keep moving through our agenda. This session will be recorded, as I said, just to capture everyone's insights. And then lastly, if you do have any technical difficulties, Emily is your go-to person. So that is our setup. And let's begin. So I'm going to turn it over to Frank to take us through where are we in this journey.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here with you. Although here is very virtual, you have to fly 5,000–6,000 miles, take an airplane and come to Europe to see me. I'm dialing in from a hotel in the Netherlands and I had to move to the 3rd floor. So if you hear some background noise, angry toddlers and doors and so on, that's because I'm in a public room. And I apologize for that. I was actually looking forward to this workshop because not only it's the last one, and I'll explain you in 5 minutes why, I have a sort of personal relationship with Southern Oregon. Before I start explaining why you are here and what this is all about, let's start with a story about boats, right? Next slide, please. So this is a story about a Japanese professor that I remember from in the 90s. He's a very famous guy and he wrote many books and manuals about change. And change for Japanese people is slightly different than for people in the Western world. It's really about process and it's about flow. And if we speak about flow, we speak about floating. So what he is saying, Kojin Karantani, is that for building a boat, you need to have a lot of craftsmanship. And you need to have that laser focus on perfections like Japanese often have. But he says it's so much more difficult to repair a boat that is already on the ocean. And that is the image for tourism that I always use. You're in a position that you need to keep earning your money. You're working in a hotel, you're working in a DMO. So tourism is a process that goes on and it needs to be fixed because there are many challenges that are coming your way. And I don't have to explain which ones. So next slide, please. So when we started working together with Travel Oregon. That was in February. And since then, after this workshop, we will have done 80% of all the work. But we started in February first with helping them for the rebuild strategy, but the focus, the main course was writing a transformational strategy. Transformation really means what a Japanese guy wanted to say, right? Transform is not starting from scratch. On the contrary, it's really keeping, preserving things that work well and adding new stuff and fixing other stuff, right? So that's the image, that's our starting position. Travel Oregon wants a transformational strategy for the next 4 years. And till the end of August, we were really involved in envisioning the future. And I'll explain you in a minute how thorough that process was. Some of the people I see here in the list are people that we have interviewed or people that have met me after governors conference. But now the reason why you are here is the left side of that strategic wheel. Now we're going to talk about how do we get there? Where do we want to go? What are the tangible actions? What are your ideas that we can collect them and bring them together in that strategy? A strategy is a bone, and we need meat to hang on the bone, and that meat comes from you. When I started with Destination Think, it was in 2015. I was already teaching in the space of places and place marketing, place management. I was saying from a long time that all these strategies only make sense not only if they're done for the people, but also through the people. So from in the beginning, we had a laser focus on co-creation and collaboration. And that is actually the reason that you are here. We really believe that residents are the ones that give the license to operate to a DMO. Okay, next slide, please. So what have we been doing? First of all, my team and myself, we have been interviewing every team member of Travel Oregon, because not only we're going to deliver a transformational strategy, but also recommendations for Travel Oregon, how to execute it. So probably they need to change their structure, the way they operate together with other people. Maybe there are some roles missing. So there will be a long list of recommendations. We interviewed 10, and it's in the meantime 12 thought leaders, also someone from Southern Oregon, people from businesses, people from DMOs, local DMOs. We had interviews with agencies that work with Travel Oregon and other consultants. We had, after the governor's conference keynote that I gave, we had engagement sessions with 60, 70 people, and we were collecting all their input. And that was really about envisioning the future, not the tangible stuff we want to touch today. We did an all-staff survey, and all that was brought together in a research report. We call it a destination assessment. You are the 7th in a row of 7 regional co-creation labs. We had a half-day session with the tribes of Oregon. We had a session with the leadership of the regional DMOs, which was different as the workshops. We had a very intensive 3 workshops, so 1 day and a half with Travel Oregon itself. And we will run, not ourselves, but held by BIPOC consultants, various focus groups with the BIPOC community. All that will be collected, gathered, and that will be boiled down to your strategy. So what did we learn? Now, we have been sending you through Travel Oregon a video. Some of you will have seen it. Some of you have done, so no worries. Like they say in Canada, I'm going to give you a very quick recap in, let's say, 5 till 7 minutes. What did we learn from the industry engagement after Governor's Conference? My first observation is wherever people come from, south, north, coast, central, it's always immediately about societal changes. That really was on the mind of the people in July, August. Second observation is when people speak about it, and that makes sense, if you work in tourism, people were really defending tourism, not in a defensive way, but just saying, hey, there is some good in what we do. There is a positive force. Tourism adds dynamics to a place. That was what they were saying. But, and you need to read the last phrase, we need to tell this more to people. And that is very important, because most people understood there is some link broken between us and the residents, and we need to fix that. Do they really understand the value of tourism? Do they really think it's only about dollars, or is there more into travel and tourism? And we need to be relevant to the people we represent. And again, you can interpret this in two ways, and both are right. We represent the tourism industry. Staff working, 1 out of 7 jobs in Oregon is really in tourism. And secondly, we need to represent our communities, BIPOC community, the tribes, LGBTQ plus community, our residents, and all kind of local communities. Economically, people say we really need to have a unified tale. That is very important. What we are doing now is probably the right things, but we speak about it in a different way. How can we communicate the value of tourism if we are not able to do that in a way that is very aligned? So you weaken your own story. Last but not least, they said, we have the ability to be stewards of this land and to do it responsibly. So you can lead that. You can control how you market to people and to whom and how you promote, right? That is your role. And that is where your space is. So you need to make sure you're working with the local communities to protect them. Next slide, please. And on the last 2 slides in that report, there were many other observations. I think the first one is the most important one, destination management. I interviewed so many people, asked everybody what does it mean, and I got like 40 definitions. That is a problem, and this is not fighting about semantics, because most people interpret destination management as fixing problems caused by tourism. And I get it, it's about cleanup days, cleaning up the litter, avoiding visitor pressure, too many people at the same time, crowd management, congested roads, people that do not behave properly and do not respect values, and so on. All fine, fantastic. That is die-hard destination management, like dispersal management. It's only 50% of the story. The other 50% is you need to start from in the beginning, at the core, co-create with your residents and hold them by the hand, step by step, keep them in the loop, keep informing them. You need to have a win-win-win approach. As long as you do win-win, you keep sending the invoice to a third party. Could be environment, nature, could be local communities. You need to create a long-term strategy. And I think most people that I spoke agreed upon this. You don't do a transformational strategy every 2 years, right? This is long-term. You can't do that overnight. It takes time. Let go traditional marketing. Not saying that everything you do is wrong, on the contrary, but if you are in the space of destination management, how are you going to communicate to residents? How are you going to measure sentiment of these residents? One of the leaders of the regional DMOs said it very eloquently to me. He said, Frank, they travel Oregon, they build a communication machine, and they can unleash that power also to Oregonians and our local people. So that is what we mean by non-traditional marketing. Destination development is at the heart of destination management. This is about creating experiences that are both beneficiary for local people and for visitors. And you can't say either or. Next slide, please. Then, build Oregon's brand upon its identity. Here's my personal story with Southern Oregon. I had to speak in San Diego. I think it was 2013 or something. And I took my family with me and my kids. My kids absolutely wanted to visit Portland. Portland is really magnetizing young urban kids in Europe. It has that cool, right? That urban thing about street food and street art. But if you asked 15 years ago Europeans, and I can testify that, where's Portland, people knew about it. Now that has been changed. People know where Oregon is. People can put on a map where Oregon is, somewhere between California and Washington. And that's fantastic. So you did a great job, actually. You really created a very fast growing brand. What this line wants to say is it's a visitor facing brand. Now that brand should come alive in your residents. Unhappy residents pose an enormous business risk for tourism. So you need to reflect about your identity together with your residents and fuel your brand identity with it. You need to empower stakeholders. This is really for DMOs. It's not anymore the #1 communication machine, but you need to enable other people. So you need to create opportunities. Climate action, whether you like it or not, it won't go away the next years. When I was doing my interviews, it was really overshadowed by the wildfires. But also climate change, you need to relate to it. You simply can't deny you need to relate to it. Lead by example. What are you going to do with your organization? But it's easy to say, hey, sustainability is very important, for instance. But if you don't lead by example and you do not taking action yourself for your own company, your hotel or your DMO, then you might be in dire straits, because people will use the power of word of mouth to say, hey, you don't walk your talk. DEI is a great thing, but you need to become strategic. It's still really pushed in that corner of actions. We need to take actions. No, first you need to have a strategy. It should be embedded in that strategy, and then actions should follow. And last but not least, establish new KPIs and measurement. Destination management requires new things, new objectives, so also new ways of measurements. That's in a nutshell what we learned. So what we're going to do next is send you to a breakout room. You will meet one of us there. And the rest of the workshop, we're going to listen. We're going to stop talking. We're going to facilitate the discussion. And for the first round, we're really interested, who are you? So we're going to ask you, introduce yourself, what organization you work for, whatever you want to share. And there are 3 questions we're going to ask everybody. And we'll see how you react on these questions. And that gives already a sort of insight where your mind is right now. Okay, thank you, Emily. Send us to the breakout rooms. Recording in progress. Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Let's see how many people we have. 12. Wow. Okay, so don't let us waste time and dive into it right now. So if I do not pronounce your name correctly, please tell me so that I can learn. I think it's important, right? So first in that grid I have on my screen, it's, is it Emil or is it Emily? I don't know how to pronounce your name.
Hi, I'm Emily Hibden.
Okay, Emily. Yeah, just explain me a little bit about yourself.
I handle public relations for Travel Southern Oregon. I've been working with the team for about 3.5 years now. I am from Hawaii, and so I've been in Oregon for about 5 years now.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Emily. Drew Hansel, you're next on my list.
Yes, I'm representing Klamath Trails Alliance, kind of an outdoor recreation space. We're a nonprofit over in Klamath Falls. I'm retired and spend a great deal of time outdoors and love it. I'm a native Oregonian and love the partnership with the tourism groups. So.
Yeah, thank you, Drew. Save the word love for later. It will be the first question, by the way. Kari May?
That's Carrie. Carrie May. I'm the library director for Jackson County Library District.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Carrie. Angela Wood.
Good morning. I'm Angela Wood with Travel Medford. I'm the Director of Sales and Sports Development. I've lived in Southern Oregon for about 30 years. It's my home. I love it. And I've been with Travel Medford for 11 years.
Thank you. Terry Hopkins.
Good morning. I'm Terry Hopkins with the Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association. While I serve a little bit larger part of the state than Southern Oregon, I am very happy to call Southern Oregon home and have been involved in the hospitality industry in one way or another around here for quite some time.
Okay, thank you so much, Terry. Dani or Dani Rains?
Dani Rains. I'm with Experience Roseburg. We and Anvil Northwest. So Anvil Northwest is the contractor for the City of Roseburg's tourism office. So I have been in the hospitality industry for close to 25 years. Been with Experience Roseburg and Neville for 3. Prior to that, I was with Seven Feathers Casino, owned by the Cow Creek Tribe, for 22 years.
Okay, thank you, Dani. Bob Hackett.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Hackett. I am the Executive Director of Travel Southern Oregon, which is the regional destination management organization for Southern Oregon, and work very closely with Travel Oregon on executing regional strategies. And I've been at Travel Southern Oregon for, gosh, almost 4 years now. And before that, I was at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival 20 years as the marketing manager. So I've been in the region quite a while.
Great. Thank you so much, Bob. Lanessa Pierce.
Hi, good morning. I am the social media manager and content creator for Travel Southern Oregon, as well as my own social media page and website, What to Do in Southern Oregon, which is more of a local's perspective on things. And I write for myself as well as do all my social media.
Okay. Thank you, Lanessa. 2 to go. Marilyn Hawkins.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Hawkins. I'm a semi-retired corporate communications person based in Ashland. And my main interest, my avocational career these days is promoting the wine industry. And obviously tourism has a lot to do with that.
Of course, tourism has a lot to do with that. And then the last but not the least, Jessica Batchelor.
Hi, I'm Jessica Batchelor. I am the Executive Director of Downtown Roseburg Association. And prior to that, I was the Executive Director of the Lake County Chamber of Commerce.
All right, I think I had everybody. I see now Megan also. Or is it Megan? What do you say, Megan or Megan? Megan, okay.
Good morning, everyone. I'm representing a Greater Applegate out here in the Applegate Valley, and I'll say hi with my video on, but rural internet won't support me staying with you on video for the whole time, but I am here, and yeah, happy to be here from our beautiful place.
Thank you, Megan. And yeah, we're all struggling with internet issues these days, so no worries about that. Okay. First question is the easiest one. So those who want to volunteer now, so then I don't have to pick somebody, they're cunning, because then the more difficult questions are probably not for you. So tell me something about your passion. I'll tell you something about mine. I was in that trip. I was in Crater Lake. I was in Clannad Falls. I did some whitewater rafting with my kids. Very easy, not very spectacular. We did hiking and so on. So I know Southern Oregon a bit, but I'm curious, what is the one thing you really love about Southern Oregon? What is it that we should know about your place? Who wants to go first? You can raise your hand electronically. That's the easiest way. You know how it is on Zoom. So, or you can wave your hand as well. If you don't know where that is, that's equally fine. There are many different ways to draw attention. Who wants to go first? Okay, Angela.
Hi. One of the things I really love about Southern Oregon is its authenticity. It's a very still authentic, genuine place. It's not pretentious. Its natural beauty speaks for itself, but the residents are also very authentic, and there's so many. This is a hard question because there's so many things I love, but that's the one thing I love about living here and sharing with visitors.
Thank you, Angela. You see it really as a quality of the people, right?
Yes.
That
A lot,
authenticity,
yes.
genuine people. Okay, great. I think Kari, you were second, Kari May.
Yep, I just moved here about 3 years ago. So one of the things I love about Southern Oregon is that there are so many opportunities of things to do that people travel here to do, and I get to do it because I live here. So as you talked about, some of the outdoor activities, the wine industry, just there's a variety of things that keep me engaged and help me wake up every morning and be grateful I live here.
Thank you, Carrie. Do you think that makes Southern Oregon distinct from the rest of Oregon, the variety of things you can do?
Well, I'll admit I haven't traveled too far out of Southern Oregon because there's plenty to do here. So I have only been to Portland once in the 3 years. You know, pandemic helped me travel less, but if I can travel less than an hour to do something, why travel to the other end of the state to do something similar?
Yeah, great point. You seem to have it all. Terry, you were next.
Yeah, I think, as mentioned before, it's tough to pick just one, but I would say our natural resources and the diversity of such, you know, as it ranged from a bit of a coastal climate, and as you move inland, lakes, rivers, and really the people that attracts, you know, tying into a previous speaker that talked about just how genuine folks are here. I think the closer you get to nature and those natural resources, it resonates with people that, you know, whether they're locals or tourists, that bring in a real genuine appreciation for what we have to offer.
Thank you, Terry. So what are you saying, actually? That's interesting, that it's not only the authenticity of the residents, but also the people we attract feel authentic and genuine. Is that what you say?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Megan.
Yeah, I will sort of follow up on what Terry was saying. I think the Siskiyou Mountains and the biodiversity of this place, it's the edge of so many ecosystems, which makes it really special to share, because we have the coastal climate and the mountains coming from the west and the temperate rainforest Pacific Northwest style climate and atmosphere from the north, and then the Cascades and the high desert from the east, and then the Klamath Basin and the Klamath Mountains from the south, and we're the edge of all those ecosystems, and it just makes this place incredibly diverse and unique. The Siskiyou Mountains run east to west, and so that's a pretty different way to connect all of those pieces, and it's a really wonderful thing to share when you get out into some of the wilderness or less traveled places.
Yeah, thank you so much, and great to hear all that. What is a place without the passion of the people, right? Lanessa, you're next on my list here. You raised your hand as well.
I'm basically just going to echo what everybody else said. It's our accessibility to the outdoors. It's just, it's like literally anywhere from 15 minutes, you can be out in the middle of nowhere and you feel like you're away from everything, and it's just right outside our door. And I'm going to cheat a little bit too. With living here for 30 years, I've seen a huge amount of growth in our culinary scene, and it's really exciting to see more international flavors coming to, and it pairs well with our wine and our distilleries that are moving in. There's a lot of new and exciting things happening, and it's great to see in a small town that has a really laid back atmosphere. So I'm just throwing a lot out there.
No, thank you, Lanessa. And yeah, food pairing is something that becomes very popular everywhere. So great. Dani Rains, you're next.
Thanks, Frank. So I would have to say the one thing that I love about Southern Oregon, I've lived in the Willamette Valley and in the Portland area. I would have to say that the speed at which our life is down in Southern Oregon, I feel is a little bit slower, and giving it a more meaningful experience so that we can be connected with each other and with our place.
Yeah, that's great to hear. That's what many places do, right? Recharge, reload, slower pace, slow tourism, reconnect. Great to hear that. Drew, you raised your hand as well.
Yes, one of the things I love about the area that we live in over here is the uncrowded outdoor space. I travel quite a bit, and you know, it's when you're outdoors and you want to have an experience, it's nice to not be in an overcrowded space. So I also love the Four Seasons. I think that's something our Southern Oregon displays very well. So.
Yeah, thank you for that, Drew. This is great. Space is something that becomes a big asset in the future of tourism. Totally agree. Okay, let's move to the next question. But if you want to add something and you're too shy, or I overlooked you, or there was no time, there is a chat button, right? And in some workshops that a lot of people use that. So you just can text where your thoughts are. Okay, the next one, now we're going to flip it, right? The one thing you really want to see changed. What needs to change in Southern Oregon? It's more difficult, right? And again, the difficult part is only pick one, because there are a lot of things happening for the moment, but what needs to change? The one thing that really needs to change. Okay, Marilyn, you started already. Reduction of wildfires. How can we do that? Marilyn?
I'm not sure I'm an expert in that category. It's just, we lived here for 12 years, then moved to Washington State and came back. And the one thing that almost prevented us from coming back was the risk of wildfire. And the Almeida fire started less than a mile from our house. So it's a great concern, not only from a personal standpoint, but from a tourism standpoint, between wildfire risk and the smoke hazards we've had. I'm sure that's a challenge for a lot of people who want to encourage greater tourism.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And this is not the first workshop where that pops up. Who raised his hand? I saw someone raising the hand. Oh, it's Terry. Terry.
I see similar coming in on chat, but I'll speak from a parent who grew up in Southern Oregon and then moved away to college and started my career. And when I met my wife, decided to move back. You know, it was a very safe place, a very welcoming place, and a great place to raise children. But as is mentioned in chat, you know, I think they've put racial, I would put it as cultural diversity. I think that there is a bit of a lack of cultural diversity here. And I don't know if it's one thing I would change. I think it is changing, but that would be my one.
Okay, great. And yes, there's a lot of talk in the chat about racial inclusion, racial diversity. Dani, can you speak a little about that racial inclusion? What is your point of view there?
Well, it also kind of goes into what Terry mentioned. So if events are more geared towards just white and not bringing in those other races and cultures, whether it's Asian, Hispanic, things like that, it almost is like an event is not accepting other people of other races to come in. And so I think if you have an existing event, how can you invite other races and cultures into it so that they can also be a part of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so important, right, in your business that you can promise as much as you want about being welcoming, but it should be absolutely made true and people feel that also. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I saw other hands that were raised. Lanessa, I think you were on the same topic, right?
Yes, just a little bit deeper, not just racial diversity, but by more diversity with our inclusion of our LGBTQIA community, and not just in like segregated events and whatnot, because we do have Pride Month, or we have Latinx, festivals, or like a Black food truck competition, but bringing the communities together. I feel like it needs to be more diversified in all of the events, including everybody and everything. And I know that's an uphill battle, and I do agree that it's slowly changing. I'm just impatient, but I'm glad to see change at least.
Yeah, totally get it. Thank you. Thank you for this. Carrie May, you added another topic to the discussion, air quality. I'm a bit surprised. What is wrong with air quality in Southern
Well,
Oregon?
I mean, it's tied to the smoke of the wildfire season as well. But I moved here from Salt Lake City, which is famous for its inversion from the mountains and then the air getting trapped. And I didn't realize that there was a similar phenomenon here in Medford and in the Valley. And so just really, I mean, and that obviously impacts our tourism when, the first year I moved here, I think I couldn't go outside for almost 8 weeks. And that happened again this year. And that has an impact on people's sanity, people's ability to want to travel here for events. And also, we have Oregon Shakespeare Festival and Brit Festival that didn't happen for the last 2 years for various reasons to various extents. And it really impacts the attractiveness of people moving to and staying in Southern Oregon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And that echoes what Marilyn said in the beginning.
And I think it goes back to, in your opening slides, when you said we have to embrace and adjust climate change as part of what needs to happen in tourism in Oregon. What part does climate change play in our strategies for embracing Oregon in the future?
Yeah, no, that's noted. Clear point. Let's move to the last question, people. And if you had not the opportunity to react on this one, please add it to the chat. But we need to go to the last question. And this is really now diehard tourism. The high value visitor. Who is that? Well, that is what I ask you. Who is that for you? What do you mean? How would you interpret that? The high value visitor is the one who spends the most money. That's what you sometimes hear. All these strategies and plans in the US that I see about high yield and the one who spends the most dollars. So yeah, I'm curious what your take is. Is that the high value visitor, the one you want to attract? I don't think money is that unimportant, but curious what you say. Dani, you raised your hand as first.
Yeah, so I feel that it's the visitor that appreciates our destination, our travel or Southern Oregon destination the most. And by meaning is they tell their friends, their family, they visit again and again. And sometimes they actually move here to be a part of the Southern Oregon lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's somebody called it in a workshop, we're a sampler destination. People come here, visit it, and they stay forever. That's part of the tourism. And the other thing you touched, Dani, is word of mouth, of course. People create your reputation, right? That's very important. Okay, Jessica Batchelor, great to hear you.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like those talkative ones, those ones that like to be social and talk about it on social media and post and check in. And and take selfies, and I like those. I want more of those.
Yeah. Jessica, what is your point of view about, for instance, backpackers, young people, don't have too much money, but they stay probably longer?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good visitor for you?
They stay longer. They appreciate the land. They're going to talk about it. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to take pictures. They're going to take in the beauty. That's what we want. I mean, I don't backpack personally, so I don't like meet them in the field or something. But you know, hearing about them. I mean, I'm inside, but generally, but I know how powerful that is and how much we have of that to offer here in Southern Oregon. Like any other, it's not like any other place.
Thank you so much. Megan, I think you kind of agree with this, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a wide range. There's the people who are backpacking or coming through to stay at hip camps or Airbnbs. I mean, we have we're in a rural valley where wine and food and other things are sort of the prime things. You know, there's only really outdoor activities. And so we need people who really honor that. It's a little bit quirky out here. It's not really set up so much to handle lots of visitors. So we need people who appreciate that rustic quality, who want to visit with locals who are entrepreneurs and, you know, just doing their thing out in the country and opening up those experiences, you know, and appreciate the beauty and the slower pace and, yeah, find the respect and the attractiveness and all of those qualities.
Yeah, great points, and absolutely, like the wine niche, it's very powerful. You have people who love going around, tasting, and explore the terroir, like we call that, also in English. Angela, you raised your hand for this one.
Yes, I think our visitors, it goes back to authenticity, the people that come here to discover something. Maybe they didn't even know they were going to discover how great the wine is here, how open the spaces are and uncrowded the trails are and the lakes. But also a lot of our visitors come here for sports and bring their families and make a family vacation out of it. And those are the people we love to see here because they often come back because there's so much to do and they love it.
Okay, thank you. Emily Hibdon, I have not heard you. What do you think? What is the most valuable visitor for you?
The most valuable visitor, from a public relations standpoint, I guess, is somebody who's going to go home and share the experiences with their friends. They're going to tell everybody, they're going to post it on social media. They're going to create that sense of desire for other people to want to experience the region.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really came across. Bob, I know you raised your hand in the previous one, but we need to be mindful of time. But what is your point about this one? Yes.
Yeah, you know, obviously money does matter because we are talking about economic impact of tourism, right? But I think at the end of the day, the best visitors are the ones that actually understand why all the people who live here love living here, and they just understand what the place is about. And I think that kind of respect and understanding actually goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. What can you do in the tourism space to make that happen? Any ideas that people respect?
Oh, well, I think we do it. I mean, I think the cultural elements, I mean, I think wine and culinary, all of that stuff is cultural tourism. If you look at culture as those things that define a place. And that is what cultural travel is. It's not just about art. It's about the culture of the place that you're visiting. And wine and culinary is part of that culture. Outdoor rec is part of that culture. The Rogue River is part of that culture, and Crater Lake and the Klamath Basin birds. And it's part of the culture of living here. And so people who grasp that and do what they will with it, but they will do something with it if they grasp it.
Yeah, that's great. And pardon my ignorance, but is there somewhere in Southern Oregon a central point that tells the story of the wine?
When you say, so there's two, the Umpqua Valley and the Rogue Valley, and the Applegate Valley is an AVA within the Rogue Valley. So we are blessed with three, major wine regions down here.
Wow. I would love to have a glass of Merlot after this workshop. Okay, thank you. I think we had a great conversation here. Thank you for that. You're very talkative. Emily and myself, we discovered the differences in temperament between the different regions of Oregon, and you certainly are one of the most talkative ones. And let's go back to the main room, and now we can share back.
Yes, if you guys want to hit leave room, we'll head back to the main room, and the other sessions will wrap up here shortly. So feel free to take a couple minutes to yourself. Welcome back, everyone.
Hi,
Hard to
everybody.
cut anyone off. That countdown.
Emily gets that fun sort of responsibility of doing the countdown to keep us on schedule. Okay, we're going to do a quick little share back on what we've heard from each of our groups. So Rebecca, why don't you go first?
Okay, thanks, Shannon. We had some great discussion. We started with the things we love. So natural beauty all day, every day, all year was really the main message. The people, very welcoming, great communities. The fact that there are 4 seasons. Crater Lake, of course, Mount Ashland, which is an asset to all of Southern Oregon and really has, it's a recreational and an educational asset. And just the openness. Also back on the people, I mean, the fact that people persevere was discussed. We talked about how when smoke happens, or then when COVID happened, we figure out what we can do and move on. And similarly, people are fearless. So they're fearless and they persevere in Southern Oregon. There's a lot of agriculture and agritourism. So we talked about the wine tourism, celebrating farm to table, so the culinary side, and everything goes with wine. We talked about that, but there are 80 different varietals grown in Southern Oregon. And we talked about the Road River, and that it was recognized by Congress in 1968 as one of the 6 most incredible sections of river in the country. So also the amazing cultural and arts scene, and that there's hemp and marijuana tours as well. About the things we could change, we talked about the need for a little bit more interaction between community and higher education, getting professors and faculty involved in community through service associations, that type of thing. So giving back and potentially making RCC more of a destination community college. So making it somewhere where young people want to go. There's a lot of opportunities for young people with the culture and food scene and all the activities with the river. And to work harder to become a more inclusive community, and combining resources to be able to promote the whole region would be helpful. So, within the DMOs across the region, working together to promote Southern Oregon. And on the wine production side, the fact that it's the second largest to the Willamette Valley means, perhaps it needs to be better promoted by Travel Oregon. This is a very authentic wine region with a lot of new varietals that younger, newer wine enthusiasts might enjoy. So having that better promoted. And transportation, it's traditionally been a drive to market. We're mindful of climate impact. So just raising awareness on that and looking for other modes of transportation. With respect to the high value visitor question, people generally disagreed, and the thought was the high value visitor is one who tells their friends and family about their experiences. Some people, we have one member of our group who had been coming for 20 years, every year until they moved there. So it's the person that comes again, the repeat visitor, and the person that uses their high value social network to stay connected to the region and to tell their friends and family and come back. And also the high value visitor is one who diversifies their spending. So those were the main things we talked about. If I've missed anything, anyone from my group, feel free to speak up.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca and team. Frank, what about your team?
Okay, yeah, a lot of things that Rebecca spoke about as well. Love for the place, authenticity was the word. Authenticity of the people that live there. They're genuine, they're unpretentious, but also authenticity even of the visitors. So they seem to attract a visitor with a similar profile. And then diversity of natural resources, biodiversity. Also, the culinary scene that becomes more diverse, so more international flavors, food pairing, and especially with wine and distilleries. And then also slower speed of life, which makes it very, very attractive for people who want to recharge, reload, reconnect with nature and with themselves. So it's very uncrowded, it's big spaces, and that is going to be an asset in the future of tourism. Now, speaking about change, Marilyn opened with the wildfires, and somebody else echoes the air quality that goes together with these wildfires. It is a very difficult topic, but it needs to be dealt with at the highest possible level to do something about it. And then also a lot about inclusivity, greater racial and cultural diversity, but also LGBTQ friendly. And there is a little bit of a fear, like we want to be welcoming, but when that is not reflected in our own population, so that there's an educational part as well. And it's changing, but it's changing very slowly. And affordable housing. And I think that's something we heard in every region, and we hear it actually in every state of the USA these days. Then last but not least, a high value visitor, a lot of the same here. The one that respects the people who live here, the one that shares their experiences, drives word of mouth, influences their friends, appreciation of our destination, the one that tell their family, the social ones who love to talk about us, the ones who honor us and honor the quirkiness of the area, the one who appreciate the rustic quality. And then it's also a kind of sampler destination or sampler effect of tourism at a destination, because a lot of people know this. You go to Southern Oregon, you come back, and in the end, you end by living there. So that's also a very important side effect of tourism. And last but not least, they also touched on culture in a more broad sense. The culture of living there, the way of life in Southern Oregon is absolutely something that should be valued. It's really high value for a visitor. That was it. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank and team. For my group, yes, echoing a lot of the similar things Rebecca and Frank's group said about the diversity of experiences is one thing they're really proud of with Southern Oregon, from outdoor, mountain, mountain hiking, running, biking, skiing, to indoor with, the theaters, their concerts, the Shakespeare Festival, the Jackson County Expo, a lot of sort of local county fairs to really show the heart of the community. So a lot of great insights about the diversity of experiences and the fact that they're all, many are all around. So that was a huge highlight. And then in terms of this experiences as well, just something for all the age groups, for multi-generational families, proximity, even different types of personalities of the different type of traveler. And I liked this word is transcends all generations. So lots to do within the region. What else did we hear? So a lot about the experiences and simply, summing it up in world-class natural attractions that can be used in a variety of ways all year round. So that was a huge focus of our conversation on top of, what Rebecca and Frank brought forward as well. In terms of things to change, there in Klamath Falls, we heard there's a little bit of an identity crisis that some of the locals forget or take for granted what we have within that region. Apparently there is a sign on the highway to California from California telling people that they come to visit, but then please leave. So I think there is an opportunity there to really shift the perspective of the amazing attributes of Klamath Falls and other areas. Ability to get there was a big one. We know, yes, climate change has an impact with flight visitation, but it does challenge people to really get to Southern Oregon. There's limited flights, and that really ultimately leads to decreased traffic for events and conferences and other unique opportunities. And then just low awareness of everything to do and what sets them apart. They're sort of lumped in with the Portland area. So ensuring that we're really promoting and broadcasting the uniqueness of Southern Oregon, including the weather. That's very different from other key parts of the state. So we want to make sure that we're really advocating for the uniqueness of the area and the way it's positioned between Portland and the Bay Area and maximizing upon that. The smoke as well, yes, that came up in our conversation. It's very uncontrollable in the summer. So looking at ways to kind of tap into the colder markets and how we can leverage that and target the right visitor during that time. And lastly, came up is RV travel. They see an influx of RV travelers. So really taking up opportunity to really see how we can make a really good experience for those RV travelers so they come back time and time again. Lastly, the high value visitor, echoing what Rebecca's team said as well, is we believe that the best visitor is one who has the best experience, and really talks about that. So creating, educating entrepreneurs, educating locals to talk the talk about what makes Southern Oregon unique, and show that visitor the best experience possible based on their range of experiences as well, to have them tell not only their friends and family, but also come back again. So we started sort of brainstorming ways to enhance the experience and how we can effectively pay that forward down the line and turn those visitors into strong storytellers, fans, ambassadors, both locally and visitor. So that was the main discussion on the how the high value visitor. Now we're going to move on to our vision homework, and I'm going to pass it over to Frank and share my screen.
Hi, everybody. Homework is a dreadful word. So probably some of you have opened that video, so you knew what was to be expected. Now, if you had no time, no worries again. We will pull it up again. The question was, what about current vision of Travel Oregon? And I am very open to it. So you need to have a mission and a vision for a strategy. And actually, your strategy is the shortest way to go from that mission to the vision, remember? But saying all that, what do you think about this vision? Do you like it? Maybe. Why? Do we need to change it? If not, great. Why? Do we need to change it? Do we need to tweak it? Is it wording? Let us know. And if you don't like it at all and needs to change radically, again, why, and let us know. So here it is, a better life for all Oregonians through strong, sustainable local communities that welcome a diversity of explorers. Okay, so some of you have been thinking about it, so I'm very curious what you think. This is important. So who wants to go first? And it's always difficult to kick it off, I know. But there are no wrong answers, right? And if you like it, maybe you can testify that as well and say, hey, Frank, I really like it, should stay like it is. That's equally good for me. So who wants to kick it off? Otherwise, I need to point at people, and that's never fun, right? Okay, thank you, thank you. Dani, why don't you start?
So when I watched the video and I read this over and over a few times, I kind of looked at it, what part was missing versus what is already there. I thought that even though we mention about diversity of explorers, we don't mention about just DEI in general for both Oregonians and our visiting explorers. And then we talk about strong and sustainable, but I think stewardship is missing.
Okay, what is, according to you, Dani, if I may challenge you a little bit on this, what is the difference between stewardship and sustainable? I think that is a very interesting point.
I feel that we need both, but stewardship I see as an action, where sustainable is a goal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. yeah, in some other workshops, people think sustainable. Somebody called it a container word, like it's a safe word. Everything becomes sustainable, what it really means, right? And stewardship is absolutely a more active word there. I totally agree. Drew, you raised your hand as well.
Yes, I think it really resonates with me, and I like the statement. I like how it leads with what I think is very important, the better life for all Oregonians. We don't want to have tourism at the expense of, you know, crashing the over-tourism type of issues that some places have had. Sustainable, our group actually is a stewardship group, and I do like that word, but I think they the sustainable and stewardship protects our environment, which we definitely need. That's one of our strongest resources. And I like the fact that local communities are totally supportive of this, sharing our wonderful area, you know, with those that visit. So again, it's perfect to me. So.
Okay, no, thank you. It's really appreciated. Thank you, Drew. So I'm gonna ask Megan, what are your thoughts about this? Megan?
Yes, I also find it to resonate quite a bit. I like the comments that were made about maybe including a little bit more around the diversity for Oregonians and the welcomers as well. But I love the expression diversity of explorers and that local communities are highlighted. So I think you're on track. If, you know, there's a little bit of wordsmithing potential, but I think you're right on target.
Okay, no, thank you. And being on track, this is the current vision, right? That it's what Travel Oregon used over the last years, and you know, things are changing constantly, so this needs updating all the time, actually. Okay, no, thank you for that. Who wants to go next? Gina, what are your thoughts about this? Gina.
I like it. I guess the first comment from Danny about being more specific about the DEI, I just wonder if we should say all instead of diversity of, because I think, you know, all certainly says it all, right? We welcome anyone who wants to come and explore this lovely state. And I think that that's more timeless, perhaps, in that messaging.
Okay, thank you. And Candice, what do you think about this vision?
I think that it's fine. I think Gina has a good point. I will also say this: we all like to welcome everybody, and then we get into some specifics. For example, I've lived in Florida where it's just wrecked every spring break by rowdy teenagers. I don't particularly want that to come to my area. So I can say through strong, sustainable local communities that welcome all explorers. And that's a nice vision statement and is inclusive. But honestly, there are always a few people you don't really want. Like rowdy teenagers who are drunk and vomiting on the streets, which is what would happen in Florida, Southern Florida. So I think it's a good statement. It's fine.
Thank you for that, Candice. No, this is great. In my group, Lanessa, what do you think about this?
I love the statement, and I'm gonna agree with more. I like the diversity of explorers, just because I'm on a number of or a couple groups for equity, diversity, and inclusion within our school district, and then also and there's a big shortage of supporting our BIPOC community and our LGBTQIA community, and I think that putting diversity there shows that more instead of all. I was just speaking to a winery owner the other day, and he is from the Bay Area. He just moved up here, and his son-in-law is Black, and he said he feels uncomfortable visiting Southern Oregon. I think that speaks loudly. It makes me sad. I mean, it's in speaking to our community, our Black community that lives here. I'm very involved with BASE, which is our Black Alliance group here in Medford, and they do see some change, but it's very slow going, and I think we just need to support that as much as we can and make it a place that feels accessible to every race and every sexual identity, and we are severely lacking that in Southern Oregon.
Yeah, thank you for that, Lanessa. You brought up racial equity in our first breakout session. Do you think the word explorers could not be interpreted as offensive to some people?
It could be. I mean, people will find things to be offended by. I think that is a delicate balance right there. I don't think speaking from personal experience, it doesn't necessarily offend me, but yes, to our Native American community, it could, and our Indigenous tribes, especially what we see throughout what's happening with, well, I don't want to get into all the sadness that we've been seeing, but yes, it could. So I think we just need to be more mindful about the wording and maybe I definitely don't think we should take out the diversity. I really don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point.
I think that's a necessary. Explorers, maybe adventurers or something like that. So it doesn't speak to the sensitivities of other people.
Thank you. We need to wrap this up. So I have still Carolina on the list and Terry. Carolina, you raised your hand as well.
Carolina.
Carolina, okay. Thank you.
I really like the statement. I feel that we could incorporate, when speaking about the communities, that they offer authentic or unique Oregon experiences, because that is so much that is so special about Oregon, and I would love to see it in this vision statement.
Yeah, that's a tweak, probably an important one. Okay, and then the last one, Terry.
Just wanted to comment that I found it interesting about you asking if explorers was offensive to any. When I read it and was going through that exercise, I liked the statement, but explorers was actually my favorite word in the whole entire thing. I mean, I think it targets, again, an action. And for us in Southern Oregon, maybe that's exploring outdoors or natural resources. For others, that could be exploring cultures. It could be exploring themselves. So rather than just a guest or a visitor, or a customer, I loved the word explorers. It was my favorite statement in there. I can agree with the sustainable stewardship and diversity conversations. But the other thing that I thought when I originally read this, and I don't know if it needs to go into the vision statement, but a definition of what really is a better life. What are we trying to accomplish there? I think is a conversation that maybe needs to be had as we adopt the vision statement.
Yeah, exactly. I heard it in other workshops as well. Because if you fill in Coloradans or Californians, is the vision statement then still the right one? So could this also apply to Colorado or to California? Right? So how distinct is this? How typical Oregonian is this? And that's what you say now with a better life. What does it mean, right? Okay, and then for explorers, yeah, I get it. I mean, I think the original intent was to have a very active kind of visitors, people that are curious. But I need to point out we did an extra workshop only with the tribes, and for every one of them, this was a no-go because it's for them a very loaded word, and we need to see all the opinions of all people, right? Okay, I think you all deserve the break. I see there is a lot of going on, so please, if you want to react on this one, just fill it in the chat, because every snippet of text, everything you put in is also something we record, and we're gonna collect at the end of all the workshops. Okay, Shannon, when do we need to come back?
Let's do 10 minutes. So if you can come back just before 10:40, that would be great. So we can make room for our final 2 exercises. So we'll see you just before 10:40.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everyone, we're gonna get going in just a minute. Hope you had a good quick break. Okay, sure a few people will trickle back in, but we'll keep moving. Our next exercise is going to be quite short. I know we've already had some good discussion around, the meaning of a high value visitor. So I'm going to turn it back to Frank to kind of lay the foundation for our next discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Like Shannon said, we have 2 exercises to come. One big one, this is your main course, and a smaller one. This really goes back to the discussion about the high value visitors. Our question is going to be, and again, every proposal, every idea is valuable for us. That's okay. What we're going to ask you is, all right, you want to be welcoming to everybody. That's great. But if you do marketing, you need to make priorities, right? Your resources are limited, your budget is limited. Where do you gonna focus on? That's actually the main question. What kind of visitor you really wanna prioritize? Which is a visitor you wanna focus on? So we're gonna be sent to breakout sessions again. And I think this is gonna be 10 minutes, not more.
We'll do about 10 minutes.
There is. Just gonna say we're waiting on Frank. Man of the hour.
Yeah, sorry, I was lost somewhere in cyberspace. It kept turning, so glad I made it. Okay, let's see who we have here. Is this the same group? Yeah, it is. Hi, everybody. That's easy, so we don't need to reintroduce. Okay, we talked a little bit about the high value visitor, right? So try to bring it one level deeper. What kind of niche do you want to touch on? What kind of passion do these people have? What they want to do when they are there? Where do they hang out? Describe me that visitor. What is your ideal visitor, your preferred visitor? What is the visitor that really could be authentic and share a lot with your communities? So tell me more about it, because this is very important and we only have 10 minutes, 9 minutes. Who wants to kick it off? Let's start with you, Angela.
Okay. Who's, again, what are you're wanting, what our ideal visitor? Who you
Yeah,
wanting?
absolutely.
Well, gosh, here in Medford, we have the older visitor, the little bit older visitor that comes through, but I think, again, I'm going to go towards sports, because we really, there's a lot of things we don't have here, like conference space, so we can't tap into that conference visitor so much, but we do have a lot of natural sports assets and man-made venues that attract the sports enthusiast.
What kind of
their families.
sports?
So, and then once they're here, of course, they're out in the community and they're out in the other communities exploring and doing things out there. So, for us, that's a huge one that we're tapping into.
Any particular sports you have in mind? Is it mountain biking? Is it noisy sports, or is it more calm?
That's the beauty, is we have so many diverse venues here. We have a great mountain biking trail at Prescott Park. We've got the U.S. Cellular fields for baseball, soccer, all of those. We're getting a new facility with a pool and indoor courts. We've got the Gold Hill Whitewater Center that is for rafting, kayaking, stand-up paddle. I mean, it's endless, the amount of kind of sports that we can do here, and that we do attract those kinds of athletes here. I mean, so many different types. That's the beauty.
Yeah, thank you. So sport is soon to be, and conference is, of course, low priority because you don't have the capacity and the infrastructure. Makes sense. Terry, what are your thoughts about this? What is a visitor you really would love to see?
And I'm still in my head to have that explorer in mind, because it has prompted so much thought, but it goes back to my conversation about natural resources, and probably very much ties in with what Angela is saying on sports. But somebody who is coming to appreciate the natural resources, whether that's hiking, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, just exploring Crater Lake and the coast. But at the same time, we'll also be enjoying some of the agricultural and wine offerings that we have. And as others have talked about, willing to share the word, and not just go home and visit every year or a couple of years, but maybe is going home to continue to purchase Oregon hazelnuts or berries, or seek out Oregon-made products even after their return to home, at the expense of maybe narrowing that scope too much in the soon-to-be category there in Tier 1. I do think that social distancing could play to our favor for quite some time to come. And so maybe it's a little bit of a focus on a drive market for a while still. But hopefully that kind of answers what you're looking for there, Frank.
Sorry, yes, absolutely. There was a lot, Terry, and you touched on many points. I love the idea COVID-19, the people that come by car, not far away, absolutely. But one thing really resonated with me, like you did not only mention nature in relation to sports, but also people that love to pick berries or just want to see Crater Lake, right? And I think that is a growing niche on the planet. We call it, in Scandinavia, they call it biophilia. Stargazing, tree hugging, just being in the woods. Things we took for granted years ago. And the spatial thing. Thank you for that. Okay, 3 hands raised. Let's start with Danny.
I'd say on the soon to be is definitely those visitors who are looking for seasonality, like you mentioned, picking berries at the top of their season, even fishing for a steelhead versus a salmon in the summertime and fall. So you've got different seasonalities with that. A lower priority, I could see someone who, or a visitor who is that those conference attendees that they're not, we like Angela mentioned, we don't have a lot of meeting space around. The unexplored, I would consider those people to be those folks that seek out a tier 1 destination, like a Los Angeles, like a New York, ones that, wow, I didn't really consider that. That's what I would say.
No, that's a fantastic thought, because that's what's going to happen. We see that in cities. My field of research is cities, and everybody went to Paris, Berlin, and London in Europe, and now it's the tier. And something similar is going to happen with states, right? California, yeah, but what is the next one? Oh, Oregon, and see what they have to offer. So yeah, I think that's really unexplored. Lanessa, you raised your hand as well.
I'm going more like the age demographic. I really think we need to start advertising to a younger demographic who's in for the unique experiences. Southern Oregon has a lot of really fun little, farmhouses for jams, or lavender fields for photos, or farm stays, and those are popping up all over, for private stays on people's farms. There's all that, and then of course that ties in with the outdoor and the athlete. Everyone I know, when my family, and also families, young families, because we always look for a unique place to stay, like llamas on a farm, or a trailer in the middle of the forest, or things like that. I think that we need to bring out those type of unique adventures, because there's a lot around here that are untapped.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a different angle, right? The age demographics. Thank you for that. Emily, you were on the list as well.
Hi, at Travel Southern Oregon, we identified our top 5 target consumer profiles. The first one is the adventure seeker. So they're obviously the veteran travelers. They want to focus on action, adventure, packing their vacation full of energy, things like that. Then we're looking at the globe-trotting couple, that's LGBTQ. They spend a little bit more money. They don't mind splurging a little bit on dining and accommodations. The next target we're looking for is kind of a suitcase explorer. Those are the modern adventurers who kind of want to backpack a little bit more. They might be a little bit younger, millennials. They're super into social media. They want to create a sense of desire, and they want that next untold story. They want to go a little bit more off the beaten path, as we're kind of talking about, LA and, all those well-known destinations, but they want to be kind of the first to go somewhere a little bit more uncharted. Then there's the fun family, obviously, people who are into ziplining, the wildlife safari, things like that, and, spending quality time together. And then our last one is the golden years. Those are a little bit older, 60 and up. They spend a lot of money. National parks are high on their priority list. And a lot of times those are drivers who might show up in an RV. And then a new one right now that I think covers everybody is COVID refugees, what we call. But people who want to get away, they want room to roam, they want to feel safe in a destination. They're not looking at big cities, and they want a place that they can just be in the outdoors, breathe the fresh air, and get away from, heavy trafficked destinations. Yeah,
thank you. I think the COVID-19 refugees is soon to be, right? That's for now. The LGBTQ community, is that for you an unexplored, or is that more soon to be?
I'm sorry, what was your question?
LGBTQ community.
They fall under our couples. So
yeah,
yes, that's definitely.
But is that something you desire, you aspire, or is that something that is happening?
In certain areas, I know that there's still certain areas of Southern Oregon where they probably won't feel as comfortable. So, definitely in Ashland, maybe some places in Grants Pass, Jacksonville, things like that, Medford. Absolutely, that is something, they are a higher spending market. A lot of times they choose not to have kids. So they might be, let's go splurge on dinner. Let's go splurge on a case of wine. They are big spenders.
Thank you. Drew, the last remarks are for you.
Yeah, I just wanted, I like all the discussion. I like the age demographic as well, but I was just going to throw in, I think the thing that makes our area unique and somebody we need to target is the middle class. You know, we have very affordable vacation spots. And so we're not really, I don't think, need to go after the people that are going to Whistler and Aspen and all these super high-end ritzy places. So
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good point as well. Okay, normally, Emily, we're 1 minute over, so I think we can go back to the main room, right?
Yes, I will send everyone back. I'm going to close the rooms now.
Welcome back. I think we're just waiting for Rebecca's group, and then we'll do a quick share back before we go into our final exercise of the day.
Apologies to Candace. She just had a great idea and we had to get her off.
The timer is always the worst. All right. You know what? I'm going to go first. I'm nominate myself. So we had some really good discussion around the different visitors that we can look to attract. From a soon-to-be, like the tier 1, there was really great recommendation around wellness travel. So there's a lot of amazing experiences around yoga retreats, forest bathing, spas, being 10 minutes from the beautiful outdoors, dark skies, and wide open spaces. So definitely something that this region should maximize soon. Family adventure, we heard that we already sort of target this type of visitor, but look to sort of emphasize it a little bit further, especially around the summer and early fall seasons. Big one was just on cross partnership marketing. So looking at itineraries to maximize the various businesses and operators to create really great like food trails for like that foodies type of visitor. Outdoor adventure, cultural explorers, etc. On the unexplored side, big one was bachelor and bachelorette parties. So, there's a lot of really great experiences from outdoor to wineries, looking at people to get them out of the Napa Valley area and bring them up to Southern Oregon. So that was a good one. Tribes. So there's a lot of really great history and culture about the tribes community in Southern Oregon. So looking to work with the tribes community to kind of maximize on how they can demonstrate to specific visitors of their culture and experiences. Another big one for the unexplored is the bikers across the board, so mountain bikers, road cycling, gravel grinding. There is already a lot of great events that happen in Southern Oregon. So leveraging that particular niche a bit further. Tapping a little bit more further into the food and wine enthusiasts, it's, a big experience within Southern Oregon, but looking at ways to spread it out for sort of spread the targeting and the reach to those types of visitors a bit further, into Arizona and other key states to bring them into Southern Oregon. And then lastly, low priority. There's already a really great awareness built for the theater goer, but particularly more in the older demographic. So this is a great opportunity to take that awareness, but diversify the targeting, looking at the younger generation and building a lot of really great experiences upon that. And Crater Lake. So there's high awareness of this beautiful attraction within Southern Oregon. So potentially pulling back on how much emphasis we put into targeting people for that experience. So that was my group. Rebecca, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, thank you. So we started off by talking about the growing importance of green tourism, ecotourism, the fact that we're getting less people and we will continue to get less people in the summer because of the smoke and the fires. So there is an imperative to really drive people to come in the off seasons. And the off seasons are beautiful. So one idea was to host a green conference. So Southern Oregon already has developed electric batteries for electric bikes. They have a private company doing composting and also growing the wine tourism, obviously, in the area. So talking about what's already being done, apologies for the dogs, and then encouraging new learnings within Southern Oregon that you can build on. Also recognizing that you are attracting younger markets. You're starting to attract younger markets that like mountain biking, that want to come and see the wide open spaces and the theater and culture. So, maybe having a more united front to attract the younger markets, really understand how they like to travel, and what, resources they look to online or what have you, and making sure you're there, because the younger people are more omnivores. So they like having a greater variety of things to do, and providing those kinds of itineraries is important. But then there's also the opportunity to create more itineraries for different kinds of visitors. So for retirees, the theater, museums, food and wine; for families, fruit picking, science, easy hikes, rafting, mountain bikers, and so on. I'm going to have to stop because I don't want my dogs to take over.
Thanks, Rebecca. And thanks for your note there, Graham, in the chat. Yes, birding, we talk about it very profusely in our niche targeting across DMO. So thank you for raising that one. And more dog-friendly areas. I don't know if that was a little dig at Rebecca, but I like it. Frank, what about your team?
Sí, sí. Espera un momento, por favor. Sí, gracias. Sorry, I was distracted here by Guy. Soon to be great insights here about social distancing, right? So we need to jump on the wagon of the COVID-19 of the drive market. The sport enthusiasts, and there is a diversity of sports. I don't have to explain them all, from baseball, soccer, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, and so on. People that really appreciate the natural resources, hiking, biking, whitewater, but also people that appreciated in a more calm way. We call that niche, by the way, biophilia, from stargazing till just admiring trees. Someone who loves the agricultural and the wine offerings, that's also soon to be. And those people that we really can use to fix the seasonality, for instance, picking berries at the top of the season, fishing for a steelhead versus a salmon, and so on. Low priority, 2 ones. Conference visitors. So your green conference, great idea, but there is a lack of infrastructure there. So we need to fix that in. And also people that do not respect nature, and there you can manage that by your promotion, of course, if that is informational kind of promotion, that would be great. And then the unexplored, greatest idea is the one that says, why don't we sell us as an alternative for a tier 1 destination? Because that's a thing that is globally happening, right? The usual household names are saturated, the Californians and the New Yorks and so on, and we have everything to offer. So that's a great thought. The younger demographic and those interested in immersive experiences, stay longer, private stays on farms, unique places to stay. The middle class. Don't forget, we probably have nodded for the very high-end visitor. So the global couple and particular LGBTQ, right? And in some places are more ready in Southern Oregon than others. But these are people that are willing to spend extra more money. The suitcase explorer, that's the one that's new for me. And that expression, the one that next untold story, the one that wants to go off the beaten path, the fun family in the golden year 60 plus. These are the unexplored. And I just want to say, I love the idea of Graham here, build on birding. And he's absolutely right. At my company, we have a piece of Harvard research. Bird watching is really a $1 billion industry. And the Americans are leading that. So there's 7 million people in the US that spend a lot of money to go all the way across the globe. They bring their own gear and they love bird watching. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank, Rebecca, and team. Really good discussion. All right. We are heading into our final exercise, and most important is how do we get there together? This is really where we truly want a lot of your valuable insights on tangible ideas. And I'm going to turn it back to Frank to set it up, and then we'll go back into our breakout rooms.
So the pending question here, how do we get there? What to be true? So what we're going to do with you is brainstorm a list of actions, right? And ideas, because we think that a vision and a strategy is probably not enough. A strategy is not a sheet of paper that ends in a drawer. It's really something that should come alive in the people. So next slide, please. Okay, what needs to be true is the question. Next one. So what we're going to do is think about, like we started, we're looking for that sweet spot, the visitor between social, the one that adds social value, the one that adds economical value, and that the one that really respects nature and does not harm local communities. So what needs to be true to attract these people? And then in the next slide, the next one. So what needs to be true for product and promotion, right? And how we prioritize. So product can be interpreted in a broad sense. What could be a product? It could be a new experience. It could be a visitor center. It could be a service. It could be training. It could be equity and DEI training. It could be trails for mountain biking. It could be signage, wayfinding. All that is for us product. What about promotion? Probably you want to communicate to a new kind of target audiences. How are you going to do that, right? Where do you need to be for your promotion? That's what we're going to discuss in these breakout sessions. It's the last one. It's probably the most important one. And last but not least, if there's time, we're going to prioritize what is really urgent and what is really feasible. Okay, thank you. Hi again. So for this exercise, we use something and we call that a Jamboard. You know, that's what consultants love to do. If we were physically there, we would love to have a whiteboard and we would go around with sticky notes, Post-its. So Emily, if you can bring up the Jamboard, that would be awesome. And what we're going to do is ask you to reflect on product and promotion, what you really need for, and only think about your own state, right? This is really about Southern Oregon. So we're waiting for your Jamboard, Emily.
Oh, see it? Let me try to share again. 1 second.
Yeah, I think there was another one.
Can you see that?
Yeah, perfect. So don't worry too much about this. We're going to take care of that. What I want to hear for you is ideas about product and promotion. What needs to be new? What needs to be changed? What needs to be repaired? What needs to be removed? Everything is good. But now it's that's why you are here in this workshop, right? We want to hear your ideas. Because if you have a strategy, that's great, but we also want to list up some actions for Travel Oregon. So who wants to go first? Yeah, you need some time to think. There is no more time for this exercise. Danny, I always can count on you. Thank you.
Yeah, can't you? I love volunteerism. So Trail Keepers of Oregon, they do a lot of trail stewardship, primarily along the Columbia River corridor or on the Oregon coast. They have come down to Southern Oregon, and I know that we do have other trail stewardships. Drew might be able to talk a little bit more about this, but I think giving people a sense of purpose when they're on vacation. When I'm on vacation, unfortunately, I have to be, I have a hard time just sitting there relaxing. So I just feel like I need to be doing something to help where I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. Volunteer tourism is a great thing. Is this a very feasible thing? I don't see why not, but yeah, you tell me. And is this urgent?
Well, with so many of our natural areas being devastated with wildland fire, I could see if we want people to experience the trailheads that we once had, I think, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I think it is quite feasible and quite urgent, right? Somewhere in the middle there. Yeah, a bit on the middle of that line. Okay, right. Think about other ideas, Danny. So who wants to go next? I see a chat. And Megan says, I love this idea. The trails associations are trying to build a trail from Ashland to GP through the Applegate, and trail building might be a way for them to plug in. That's great. Trail building, maybe you should even mention that apart, Emily. And voluntourism and trail building. Why don't you go second? Thinking.
Frank, you're breaking up a little. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear us, Frank? Maybe try turning your camera off.
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. Is
Yeah,
something
you
wrong?
broke up a little bit on your last.
Oh my God. Here we go again. So Lanissa, yeah, your thoughts, please.
What exactly are we trying to get to? Like how to get the information out there? I love the idea of volunteerism, but we need to how we get that to our visitor. We need to make that a possibility, through social media. Is one of the biggest ways now. And of course, I'm going to go that way because I'm a social media and content manager, content creator. Is that what you're looking for?
That's great for promotion. I love so much. What kind of training, what kind of signage, what kind of wayfinding, what kind of roles, what kind of people do you need in tourism? What's for you important? And don't say everything. We need to prioritize. Are limited, resources are limited. So that's what we are looking for. Yeah, Drew, you're next.
Yes, I was thinking something around our shoulder seasons, or especially winter. We're blessed with great mountains packed with snow. On one side of the hill, we do have Mount Ashland. On our side of the hill, actually, I'm a backcountry skier and a Nordic skier, but we could stand to promote, I guess, our assets around the winter Nordic and backcountry skiing, maybe as and even development. I know some communities actually, there's a community in Washington that actually people, they groom trails for Nordic skiing, and it's quite the place to go. It's a little closer to metropolitan area, but again, it's something that we have the outdoor asset. We just need to develop it a little more.
Okay, thank you. That's a clear point. And also Lanissa's idea of promoting that voluntourism by social media is one that should be on the board, Emily. Lanissa, did you raise your hand again? Is that right?
Yeah, I didn't raise my hand before, but I am now.
Okay, no, perfect.
It made me think of the fact I'm not a summer person, and I really don't like summers in Southern Oregon. But advertising our other 3 seasons that are, it's just because I don't like the heat. But to Drew's point, advertising, we have great winter sports, just like you said, Nordic skiing, cross-country skiing, snowshoeing, and it offers opportunities for the whole family. We take our kids out, we go on dates with my husband and I go on dates or with couples, and it just offers an opportunity to really dig in deeper to our outdoor life here in Southern Oregon. And featuring like our fall and spring hiking is amazing during those shoulder seasons. Summer, not so much because it's so hot. And if you go into different areas, it might be mosquito ridden or smoke or all those things. And we don't have to deal with those things in fall and spring. So, and I know that's something we've done in Travel Southern Oregon is tried to focus on those shoulder seasons, but maybe doing it more so.
Yeah, good point. The shoulder season. It came up actually the whole session already from in the beginning. So it's very, very important. I think it's very urgent then for you. How feasible is that to build product for more the shoulder season? Is it very feasible as it is urgent?
Are you speaking to me?
Yes. So you say, yeah, this is important.
Oh yeah, I definitely think it's feasible. I mean, especially with social media. I start promoting it. I actually start promoting our fall season about midsummer, dropping in photos because our imagery for Southern Oregon, our colors remind me of New York which we know the East Coast has amazing fall colors, and Southern Oregon very much reminds me of that. So I try to start plugging that as soon as I can. And then once we're in the dread of winter, when it gets really, really cold and people don't want to, us diehards are out there snowshoeing, but I start featuring our spring colors, because we have phenomenal cherry blossom and plum blossom trees around here, and encourage hiking and hitting the trails when they start thawing and whatnot. I think it's definitely feasible, especially to our, that San Francisco, Portland, that Portland market and San Francisco market, encouraging people to come up here.
Yeah, thank you, Lanessa. Great points. Jessica, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I don't know if this is just kind of, I guess, how I feel it. We do a lot. We all know tourism so well, and continually educate ourselves on tourism. I think we need to really make our business owners and our frontliners just as educated and aware of tourism, so they can speak to our visitors and use social media correctly, use the assets that are new, use the different promotion and products that we have here in those ways. I think the business owners and our frontliners miss out on huge opportunities to work for tourism, and don't see themselves working for tourism as much as they should, which would create a lot more investment, I believe, in our touristy spots and our places that we want to drive our tourists. A sense of working together and education, continuing education on marketing themselves and being ambassadors for tourism.
Yes, and when you talk, Jessica, about education, do you think about training, or do you think about, I don't know, online sessions or toolkits or brochures, or what are your thoughts on a very tangible level?
I mean, I think all of that, business owners, depending on their business, have a shortage of time to take classes and do those sort of things where this is our job. So we do it all the time, but I think finding some way to educate our frontliners and give them that role as part of their job to be tourist and ambassadors for our areas and for, the entirety of Southern Oregon and Oregon itself, I just think is sometimes overlooked, with giving them real tools and responsibilities to speak about the places that we want to speak about and drive tourism to.
What about priority? Is this very important?
I think it is.
To you?
I mean, I think
You
it's
can
really
say yes. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, let's put it in on the important side, Emily. Okay, I'm breaking up again. Megan, I didn't hear you yet. Is Megan not anymore here?
No, I'm here. Just listening.
I
Yeah, well, I commented that, for us in the Applegate, we definitely talk about the shoulder seasons too, because it's really hard to think about bringing people here when it's so hot and smoky. And also just the risk of potentially, fire and evacuation. I mean, we're running a hip camp in a pretty isolated spot, and if a fire came through, like, just trying to think about being responsible for getting extra people out, like, we're just basically probably not going to operate during August. So the shoulder season thing is really something that we're looking at. And, for us, the harvest season out in the valley is really beautiful with all the colors and outdoor options. But it's also harvest season for wine. And I mean, people can pick grapes, and all the bounty in the food is coming out, and, right now with cannabis. So that's something that we're kind of looking at. People love the idea of a harvest festival and that kind of thing. So creating some events around it and just using those times a year for our promotion.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was breaking up again. All right, Angela, what are your thoughts about this? What do we need in Southern Oregon to have a experience?
I agree with all that has been said. Shoulder season promotion, of course, is on top of our minds right now too, for a variety of reasons. We did have a harvest festival planned for this weekend, actually, in downtown Medford that we had to cancel a few weeks back because of COVID, or not cancel, postpone until next year. So we are top of mind with all of those things. I think one thing that we're really facing here is a shortage of employees. So that could go hand in hand with maybe this voluntourism notion that they're having a hard time bringing the crops in right now because they don't have enough people. So maybe you offer it as a really great fun experience to come and pick grapes and have a little vacation here in Southern Oregon. So that was something I was thinking, or I don't know. I don't know how we get past that, but making the people that do work here in the tourism realm or that are touched by tourism, to make them ambassadors is super important, and to get past the negative perceptions that sometimes our locals have here. And I know that Travel Oregon was going to do some training, frontline training, customer service training, and that was kind of all pre-COVID, but I think that is super important to keep up on that.
Yeah, thank you. And I think the link between the problem with staff and the shortage and voluntourism is one I did not hear yet. So I think it's a great one. Yeah, absolutely. And an ambassador program is another idea, Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea as well. Lanessa, you raised your hand, I thought, yeah?
Yes, again, it's kind of going along with Jessica talking about encouraging businesses to learn their resources. One of the big things with visitors is encouraging them to, especially with our local businesses suffering so much through COVID, is encouraging visitors and locals alike to shop locally, eat locally. We have, I mean, it's just in recent years that we've gotten the really big chains here, but encouraging those visitors and let it be known our local businesses, just like the Applegate has, you know, a growers market. We have a lot of growers markets in Southern Oregon, which taps into our local vendors and artisans and artists. And I know they've really been hurting, and they've all been shifting and trying to figure that out. Whether like in downtown Roseburg, not lots of new boutiques are popping up, and restaurants are readjusting, and event venues are opening up because they're trying to generate income in our own towns. So, and I think that's very feasible through social media, getting the word out, and also teaching our businesses, our local businesses, those resources, and helping them give the tools to get things going. And actually, Jessica and I are working on something for Roseburg. So she made me think of that.
No, but this is great. And that was what happened during COVID-19, right? All the DMOs, buy local, act local, support your local businesses. Why should you not keep doing that and encourage visitors to do that as well? No, this is a great idea. Jessica, you raised your hand again.
No, I don't know how to unraise my hand.
Okay.
Here,
sorry,
I can lower it for you. Don't worry.
Lower the
Right.
hand.
Okay. Terry, I didn't hear you this one. You're so quiet suddenly.
I was at first, I wasn't sure if I understood the exercise, but I think I'm catching on now. And workforce is certainly top of mind for me, both in the number of workforce, and as Jessica stated, we're going to need some additional training as we have new people coming in. But to maybe add something new, if I can break apart product and promotion from each other, in the promotion category, and I think Vanessa does a great job of this, is user-generated content. rather than us just advertising and tell people who we are and what we want them to experience while they're here. Using a lot more user-generated content to allow people to share their own experiences, because I think that resonates very well and comes across very genuine. On the product category, maybe would tie into a little bit more environmental, but with a lot of our great natural resources, whether it's trailheads or boat ramps or access points, we're asking people to be environmentally conscious, but do we really have enough parking for them to park in an appropriate place and not off the side of the road? Do we have the trash cans that we're asking for them to leave their trash in? So maybe some investments in infrastructure, to where I maybe would rate that one as high urgency, but is a little bit tougher to accomplish in the feasibility side of things. So again, I think I'm catching on to how this exercise went, and hopefully those address that.
Yeah. On a very tangible side, is there something that like infrastructure that needs to be, I don't know, have an injection, an investment, need to make over?
I started to address it, but maybe go a little bit more in depth is, that outdoor tourism is growing, and many of our trailheads or boat ramps, provide a limited number of parking for maybe the usage that it saw 5 or 10 years ago. And now if you go to a popular trailhead and those places are full, people are parking off the road into areas that are damaging our environment. The amount of trash that people are packing back out with them, I suppose people could load it into their cars, but if we were being good stewards, using that word again, offering them an opportunity to do the right thing easily by providing trash pickup more frequently or trash cans. So in that infrastructure category, I think it's just building for the volume that we're seeing now. And again, it's lots of places. It's trailheads, it's boat ramps, it's beaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's one observation of mine is that I was in your place visiting, and nobody told me about the wine experience, which is strange. And I was thinking like cross-referencing and really refer to each other could also be a big bonus. So if somebody loves mountain bike, that does not exclude you also loves wine or visiting a winery or something like that. Okay, but that's a personal one. Hey, I'm looking for someone who can explain what is here on the board in the next session. That's something we don't do ourselves most of the time. Angela, would you be so kind? And I know your internet is stable enough. And you don't need to read every post-it, but just tell what we have been discussing. I think the seasonal thing is very important in this group. The volunteer was a great idea, also in relationship to staff shortage, a lot of communication, the user-generated. The ambassador program, I think, is great. So yeah, there is a lot of ideas already on the board here. Okay, somebody who wants to conclude? We have just 1 minute. Danny, Drew, Vanessa, everybody has said what they have to say. Okay, then we can go back to the main room. Emily?
We didn't get our minute.
That was not a minute.
Well, you did it. Maybe that was. I'm sorry for anyone I cut off.
That's okay. We're almost finished.
Sorry, Candace, this is nothing against you personally.
Yeah, sorry, Candace.
Okay. Thank you for your participation in that one. Lots of really good discussion, at least in my group. How about Rebecca, you go first. And I don't think I had time to volunteer somebody, so I'm going to pick someone.
I did have time to. I tried Catherine, but Carrie very graciously was voluntold and agreed. So I'm going to put my. I'm going to share.
As long as you share the screen.
Yes. No, you have to. You didn't memorize it.
Oh. You had the sticky notes. Yep.
Yeah.
So we didn't get all of our sticky notes placed on the scale there, but we really, I think we were feeling pretty optimistic that not only did we identify things with high urgency, but also high feasibility. But some of the discussion really centered around those top two sticky notes, that selling local politicians on funding for tourism initiatives, and also advocating with politicians to deepen our connections for tourism around the state. I think I don't know if this is going to be the new slogan, but like Bend minus the crowds, that we're on the I-5 corridor. It's less crowded here, easier access. We felt like that was something that was fairly easy to promote. And then the agritourism of our resources that we have here locally was another area we touched on, and then expanding some of the natural trails that we have both through the Greenway and the Jack Ash Trail connecting Jacksonville and Ashland were things we talked about. And then we didn't get the blue sticky note related to that, but the winter promotion for off-season things throughout our region. We discussed how broadening things beyond what has become our smoke season, that there's really opportunities to bring people in during more of the seasons around. And tied to that then is the inventory of lodging by type, and also more cheap campgrounds and places where people can just go out and experience nature, were things that I think I would place kind of more in the low feasibility, perhaps high urgency portion of this graph. But those were some of the highlights of our conversation.
Perfect. Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Frank, what about your team?
Thank you, Shannon. I voluntold Angela, and she was so friendly to accept.
So excited.
Thanks, Angela.
Okay, we had some of the crossover ideas that the past group had. One thing we talked about was the idea of voluntourism or volunteerism. So when you go and you stay in a place, you feel like you have a sense of purpose while you're there. It could go along with trail stewardship. It could help maybe even alleviate some of the workforce shortages that we have if people want to come work in the vineyards or during harvest and make a little vacation around it. So it was one thing we had. We also know it's super important to promote in the shoulder season. And we talked about harvest festivals and all the winter assets we have as well that we could probably do a better job of promoting. And then offering resources for parking, trash cans, except planning for the volume of visitors. Again, it's making what we do have here more accessible and visitor friendly, and putting a little more into that. And then the ambassador program we talked about as well, and really making the local people that work in tourism and beyond aware of the importance of tourism and aware of all the fabulous things we have around us, whether it's through training, which I think is probably the good way to do it, but that ambassador program needs to remain super important so that we're making really great impressions on our visitors. Don't know if I missed anything, Frank, but I think that was about it.
No, this is awesome. Thank you so much. So we talked quite a lot about communication as well, and social could be a very important role in this. So that's great. And then the off season, of course. Thank you so much, Angela. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. And lastly, my group, I didn't have a chance because I got cut off by the countdown. Carolina, would you be willing to deer in headlights?
Are you sure?
You did such, yeah. You did such a good job in our workshop. Yeah.
Alrighty. Big one for us: wayfinding, signage for trails, developing resources there. Medford mentioned conference space to attract large-scale conferences. We focus on also building new events from sport to culinary, farm to table, food trails, agritourism, tapping into the dark skies and stargazing, low light pollution, and attracting travelers to eastern parts of our region. And then hugely also connecting our frontline workers with our guests, giving them this amazing experience, but making our frontline workers passionate more about the region, about all the attractions, being very educated so that they are those ambassadors and they help convince our visitors that this is not the only time they are in Southern Oregon. So training would be hugely important. Am I missing anything? Oh, there was a mention of COVID-19 mandates and legislation so that we save our small businesses in the region.
And then the RV traveler.
Oh, yes. Yes, developing new sites because it's such a big and still growing form of transportation for people. And we do not see that it's gonna get any smaller, and a huge opportunity for Southern Oregon.
Great. Thank you, Carolina.
You're welcome.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Okay. We are just in our wrap up. So again, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a really valuable time with you all, and a lot of really great insights that have been pulled forward. Our team's going to be very busy over the next couple of weeks or so, diving into all of these insights. So like I said at the beginning of our workshop, please feel free to send a note to myself or Emily or even Staj at Travel Oregon if you have any other thoughts that kind of float up in your mind as you go throughout your day. There's no shortage of insights that we would love to see. So what's next? Frank kind of went over our strategic process. Here it is in terms of a recap, but with some timelines against it. So as he said, we are in that where could we be and how do we get there phase of the transformational strategy process. So over the next month, our team will be distilling all of these insights from the workshops, from the focus groups, from our time with the tribes, and starting to create a strategic framework for the transformational strategy. We will be working with Travel Oregon's REI consultant to ensure that everything that we do with the transformational strategy is through the lens of racial equity, as that is a very high priority for Travel Oregon and the state. So we'll present that strategic framework, gather Travel Oregon's alignment, and then really sort of in the January, February timeframe, we'll be presenting the full transformational strategy and organizational design to Travel Oregon, which would then be adopted by the commission. But we don't really stop there. As Frank said, we want to ensure that we're doing as much as we can to help the industry and Travel Oregon adopt this transformational strategy. So we have designed what we're calling a phase 3, where we will be working closely with the team on identifying those key priorities and actions that we want to move ahead as early as March 2022. So that is sort of part of phase 3. So that is sort of the wrap up of what's next steps. And if you do have any questions relating to the process, any other thoughts from today, like I said, feel free to reach out to us. On behalf of our team, we really thank you for your time today. We know that you're very busy. So again, thank you so much for your time. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day and a good weekend. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks.